Today I'm in all black because we're talking about the car that brought the term Widowmaker back into the Porsche world, and that is this. It's a 2008 Porsche 911 GT2. Today I want to talk about what makes this car so incredibly special, one of my favorite 911s, and also where it fits in the Porsche lineup. If you're looking to get a Porsche, why would you consider this? Where does this fit in? So first, we're going to start with the design of this car. In my opinion, this is one of the most masculine looking 911s ever made. Starting up front, you've got a whole new bumper that they had for this car, which is really cool because it's like a mixture between a turbo and a GT3 RS. You've got the vents up top from a GT3 RS. And then if you look at the turbo bumper of the time, they've got these little circular fog lights. They lose that in this car, and the front grills and intakes get much, much larger. So just gives the front of the car an aggressive look. Moving down the side of the car, you have these huge air intakes, which just gives this car really pronounced hips. And then moving to the back, we've got this massive wing for aero. And then in my opinion, this car has the best looking rear bumper of any 911 ever. The gills on the bottom just give it this aggressive look that just overall add to that masculine stance of the GT2. So most importantly, driving this car, what makes it so special? What is it? So let's take it for a ride, let you guys know all about it and why you should really consider the GT2. So before I get into the real review of this car, I want you to imagine being back in 2007, 2008. You're a Porsche guy, so you've driven a GT3, you've driven a turbo. Both are great cars, but they come out with the GT2 and you're like, what is this thing? You get behind the wheel for the first time, get an opportunity to drive it, put it in second gear, and you give it the beans. I can only imagine what that felt like back then, because even today, this car is monstrously fast, but back then I can only imagine guys getting this car and then immediately calling up their friends to come over to their house to experience this thing, because it is just the way it brings on power, the way the boost kicks in. There are few cars like this in a package like this. So brings us to our question, which is, where does this car fit into the Porsche lineup, and is it a good fit for you? So the one thing is, this car is extremely powerful, but it was built for that power. Porsche did a phenomenal job with this car to make this car extraordinarily powerful, but able to handle all of that. The suspension, the PSM system in this car is brilliant. It allows you to get a little loose, have a little fun, and don't get me wrong, you can get in trouble, but it's just a really, really well-balanced turbo car. So thinking about other Porsches to collect, other Porsches to buy, you've got now the 2011, the 997.2 GT2 RS, you've got the 2019 GT2 RS, which are kind of the pinnacle turbo cars. So what's interesting about the GT2 is this car that we're sitting in right now is under $300,000. Right now in this market, a GT2 RS 997.2 is well over $500,000, and the 2019 GT2 RS is hovering around $400,000 right now. So you look at this car through that lens, and this car is a steal. The GT2 has 530 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque. By no means is that a slow car. In comparison to those other two cars I mentioned, yes, it's less powerful, but I'm telling you guys, the way this car brings the power on is just addicting. So that brings me to my next point, which is you really, if you're considering the GT2, you really need to have a place where you can stretch this car's legs, whether it's mountain roads, whether you live sort of in the country where you've got some wide open roads, or you do want to track this car a little bit. It's a car that in the city, in this environment that we're in right now, it's not very good. You've got a stiff clutch, you've got a relatively stiff suspension, and it just feels cooped up here. It feels like it belongs out on some open roads. So be sure to consider that you have an opportunity to really stretch this car if you want to. But, you know, I think for me, this is one of the greatest cars. I mean, you guys know, if you've watched some of these videos, that 997s are my favorite generation of 911. And to me, this car, the lunacy of this car just gives this car such a fun personality that I think it's really, really going to do well over time for a fraction of the price of those big boy cars, which we all know right now are collector cars. So look, I think the GT2 is a car that presents a really great opportunity. It allows you to drive it without feeling guilty. The driving experience in this car is second to none. It just gives you so much in one package. So for that reason, I think considering the GT2 should be high on your priority list if you're looking at 911s.